Hello friends, Killer Bee here with another video on inactive rail lines. In this video, we will check out the Escanaba and Lake Superior Railroad from Channing, Michigan up to Republic, and the roadbed that continues to Champion. There is a lot of history here, with multiple intertwining railroad lines and the mines they served. So come along to see then and now. Greg Bunce, former ELS conductor and engineer and historian, and I went exploring on a fine fall day in October of 2024. We began our day at Channing, where the line leaves the yard and heads railroad west, geographical north.
This was originally, when it was built, it was a Republic Branch Railroad from Iron Mountain to Champion. It was completed to Champion in 1888, and the people behind the Republic Branch Railroad were basically the same people that owned the Milwaukee and Northern, and it became part of the Milwaukee and Northern shortly after it was completed.
In 1890, control of the Milwaukee and Northern passed to the Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul Railway, with complete absorption in 1893. A little quick history as the rail lines involved changed over the years. I will refer to them here as the Milwaukee and the DSS&A. The ELS acquired the 24-mile Channing to Republic line from the Milwaukee Road in 1981. The Milwaukee Road had abandoned from Republic to Champion in 1976. State Highway M95 roughly parallels the railroad. However, this is new M95. Keeping closer to the track is old M95. And that is what we take north out of Channing, now named Sawyer Lake Road. Our first stop is the first crossing north of Channing, Race Landing Road, where we find some storage cars. North of here was a derailment in 2005. The cars derailed on an iced-over private crossing in winter, and were still there in May when Greg recorded them. The next crossing north is Newburgh Road at Sawyer Lake.
Sawyer Lake was originally Metzger Spur. There was a 5-car spur here, probably for log loading. The switch was right here at the crossing, and in fact the track is still in underneath all this gravel, but ELS took it out because we had a derailment right at the switch. Tore it all up. We never used it anyway, so they just took out the switch because they put a new crossing in.
Just north of Sawyer Lake, we turn onto the road to the Sagola Township Sportsman's Club and find some more storage cars.
Right there where the track is so crooked, it's because there was 2 SD9s on the ground right there. And when I got done putting the track back together, that's what it ended up looking like. That 2-track road is the original M95, the original Iron Mountain to Republic Road.
Okay, so turning into Floodwood.
No.
No?
Nope, we're turning onto old M95 to Floodwood.
Oh, okay.
Let's see how bad the road is. Those look awful like sand cars.
So is this where the town used to be? Like
no,
right here?
It's up where the siding is.
Oh, okay.
This is all really sandy soil out here. When you get out here, it's called the Floodwood Plains out here. The blueberries grow like crazy out here. There are not too many trees. There's spots out here. There are no trees whatsoever after they cut the pines down. Nothing sprouted back up because the ground's so poor. Okay, we're at Floodwood. There's a siding here. I'm standing right here. It is. It holds about 20 cars. There's 25 ELS boxcars here. There's probably the only ones left. They cut the rest of them all up. This was a logging town originally. So the reason for its existence, there were 3 or 4 hotels here. Right here on the right side, there was a big hotel here. There was 3 sawmills, approximately 300 people. The reason that was here is because they were cutting all the white pine off. Well, after they cut all the white pine off, the population dropped, of course. By about 1900, it was down to 50 people. And in 1913, the Milwaukee closed the depot that was here and just made it a flag stop. The siding here, ELS, they loaded paint ore and cement. The paint ore was going offline through Green Bay. And the cement was being unloaded and hauled up to Ishpeming. Now, when they found out they were going to get this business, they had to put a new switch in down at the east end because there was no switch. The Milwaukee had taken it out. There was brush, there was trees probably 8 inches in diameter going up through the track. They cut all them down and they replaced every tie in the siding. 2018, that business quit. It dried up. So there hasn't been any business at Floodwood since then, other than storage cars.
This is a 60-pound rail in the siding?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So, 60-pound, 6-bolt rail. Yeah.
You can see this is arranged, supposed to be arranged. The padlock chain would attach to that, and you could not lock the switch without putting the lock on the point, which is a good idea. But it only locks on the main line side.
We leave Floodwood on Old 95 and head up to the Michigamme River Bridge.
Yeah, they cut all this off about, I don't know, 10 years ago or less. You see how all the popple whips are coming up.
And the old highway bridge.
That bridge is 1 lane. It was built in 1910 by the Marquette County Road Commission. The state highway used that bridge until 1939 when they finished the new bridge, which is just upstream from it.
The guardrail on the bridge is 60 pounds, rolled in 1892. Here's some trivia. Notice that the bolts in the guardrail joint bars, also called angle bars or fish plates, face the same way instead of alternating. The heads face out so that in case of a derailment, the bolts would not get sheared off. Greg next pointed out how the Milwaukee Road dated new ties. Most railroads used date nails, which were screwed or pounded into the ties and had the date of the ties stamped on their heads. The Milwaukee Road, along with a few others, employed a method called clock dating. 3 circles drilled into the ties would denote its year based on their arrangement. There was a center circle and 2 outside circles. The positioning of the outside ones correlated to the hours and hands on a clock, indicating the decade and year of the tie. Leaving Floodwood, we briefly join new M95 until turning off it again onto County 601, the old highway, and into Witch Lake.
Witch Lake was originally, it's very confusing, Witch Lake was originally named Witbeck. But they changed it in 1910 because there was another station 2-3 miles farther north which was also named Witbeck. Because this town was, well, there really wasn't ever much of a town here. It was basically a supply point for the Fence Lumber Company who was logging in this area. And when the timber gave out around here, they moved 3 miles north to what became Witbeck. And that also became a supply point for the Fence Lumber Company. Actually, the station was not at this crossing. It's actually about a half a mile farther north.
There is no sign of the track in the road any longer, but in the trees is the crossing box. Heading south from our location is the old road. We will head north up it, now County 601, and eventually turn onto Witbeck Road to Witbeck. So this is the old M95?
Yes.
Okay.
It's now County Road 601.
And then the current M95 is on the other side of the track to our right. We've turned off of County Road 601 and we're on the road into Witbeck.
We're looking south, and we're here in Witbeck. The depot was right about where the road curves here on this side. There was a siding on this side. Right across the road here on this corner, there was a warehouse. This Fence Lumber Company, when they moved from Witbeck, or from Witch Lake, they moved to Witbeck, used this as a supply point because they were logging off northwest of here. In 1909, the Sagola Lumber Company from Sagola built a logging railroad that went 11 miles east of here into a great big stand of white pine, one of the last stands of white pine up here. And they brought the logs here to Witbeck, loaded it on, and they took it to the mill in Sagola on the Milwaukee. At that time, it was a St. Paul.
In the 1920s, a photographer named Robert S. Platt made a number of photographs in the UP, which have been preserved at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee Library. Here we see the depot at Witbeck in August of 1927. We wiggle our way up to the next crossing to the north on Cut Across Road. Well, you wouldn't know it, but we're looking right up the track.
Where's Republic?
Greg is standing right between the two rails, looking south. The paved over road crossing. We turn north again on 601. After going a few miles, we find the next crossing. So the road jogs where they cross the track. Okay. And this is 601 we're still on.
Tracks are right here. Right here.
Oh boy.
Right there. You can see them there on this side.
A short distance up 601, and we get a vantage point to the trestle that spans the Michigamme River at Republic. We'll continue north to where the track crosses 601, which would be right here.
In fact, there's switch points right there. They must have torn them out. Yeah, here's the turnout right here.
Oh yeah.
Yep, there's the siding. Where's the main line? I can't remember. There's the siding over there.
Oh yeah. We walked east to the bridge.
I can imagine, if you can, there was houses all along this bank over here. They tore them all down and moved them. little bridge files. They had to come up here and take some photos in the bridge.
Beavers have been busy. This brings us to the community of Republic and the Republic mine site. The underground mine opened in 1871. It stopped operations in 1926 or 1928, depending on which source you use. It reopened in 1956 as an open pit mine and closed again in 1981. There's an overlook, but the pit is pretty much filled with water, so there isn't much to see. Contrast this to a 1973 shot by Greg. The first time the mine was in operation, 3 railroads funneled into Republic: the Milwaukee, the C&W, and the DSS&A. With the first closure of the mine, the DSS&A abandoned in 1928 and the C&W in 1932. Here is how it looked when all 3 railroads still came to Republic. We are parked right here, and we'll first explore the former Milwaukee to the left, then the former Milwaukee track and C&W remnants to the right. So going left, we see the remains of the edge of the station platform. We walk west down the old roadbed toward the river and find the spur track behind the depot site.
Speculite, it's a kind of iron ore. Mined that also in the Champion mine.
Let's turn the clock back to 1927, when Robert Platt was in Republic and made a shot from the same location of the Milwaukee depot. We now head off to the right, east along the former Milwaukee track. Immediately to the right, we see the remains of the retaining wall of the C&W depot. An old val map shows the Milwaukee track we are walking along and the C&W station. The track is still visible for a little ways, but eventually it gets too overgrown, so we flip over to a parallel road. Soon continuing on, it becomes futile also. Greg points out in the distance one sign of the railroad. A phone line pole still remains in the swamp. Let's look at another Robert Platt photo of this area from his 1927 visit. We see the DSS&A track, which is now the road we are sitting on. Crossing is the Milwaukee, with the depot off to the left out of sight. We see the C&W depot poking out from behind the hill, with the track ending just short of the DSS&A. The mine is behind him. Here's a view of our position looking to town. The road is the former DSS&A right-of-way. The Milwaukee crossing would have been in the immediate foreground. We leave and head through downtown Republic. We take County Road LF east out of town and shortly come to the crossing. At the south side of the road is the end of the E&LS. North of here is trail on the former Milwaukee roadbed. We head up the old Milwaukee roadbed and come to the bridge over Bruce Creek. Greg is on the former Milwaukee right-of-way, and to our right is what was originally the C&W, then later the LS&I. So this would be a good time to catch up on some history. We are here. This is what it looked like when the CNW, DSS&A, and Milwaukee all ran to Republic before the mine's first closure. After the shutdown, the CNW and DSS&A abandoned. The Lake Superior and Ishpeming built a 9-mile line from Humboldt Junction to facilitate the reopening of the mine in 1956, utilizing the former DSS&A and CNW roadbeds, shown here in purple. We continue up the Milwaukee roadbed to the site of the DSS&A crossing, called Milwaukee Junction then, and later Republic Junction.
Okay, I'm standing on the Milwaukee grade. Just to the left would be the ELS and I grade. Before it was the ELS and I grade, the Republic. It was the Northwest, Chicago Northwestern grade. We're standing, right here we're standing was Republic Junction. Northwestern, Milwaukee, Northwestern went this way, the DSS&A went this way, and the DSS&A went that way to Republic.
There was a tower here to protect the crossing. The trace of the DSS&A is just barely visible in the brush. And we still have some iron ore pellets. The two roads established an interchange here in 1957, which the ICC declared illegal in 1959 and ordered them to cease utilizing. We continue heading up the Milwaukee toward Champion. To the right is the DSS&A and later LS&I to Humboldt Junction. The Milwaukee abandoned in 1976 and the LS&I in 2005. At M95, we leave the roadbed and get on the highway. We didn't stop to investigate, but once there was a tower nearby that protected the crossing of a CNW branch to Champion Mine across the Milwaukee. The Milwaukee also had a branch, and the two tracks joined together as a jointly operated line to the mine. The CNW main also headed off on its own here. The Milwaukee continued to Champion, where the trackage merged into the DSS&A at the passenger and freight depots. First, however, was the engine house, which is still standing today alongside US 41. Greg took a few shots of it in 2003. Back to today, and the tie still in the ground. The site of the freight depot, and the former passenger station, which we see here in a shot of Greg's in 1973, and today. Well, that brings us to the end of the line, figuratively and literally. I hope you enjoyed our trip. I give a big thank you to Greg for his time in sharing his material and knowledge, and also to the American Geographical Society Library and the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee Libraries, who shared the Robert S. Plant photographs. More is coming, so please subscribe. And here's a link to other videos. Thank you. Bye for now.